Just a friendly reminder that the opinions expressed on this show are not worth a Canadian penny, so disregard anything you hear that might get anyone in trouble. And despite some of the great ideas you may hear, don't try them at home. Go to a friend's house instead.
It's time to get a gun. That's what I've been thinking. Well, I could afford one. And if I did just a little less drinking, time to put something between me and the sun. When the talking is over, it's time to get a gun.
Hello and good evening and welcome to the first show for Slamfire Radio's All Ladies episode. I wanted to say hello to Kelly Kincaid.
Hello.
Hello, Kelly, and Stacy Penland.
Hi, Kels.
And Dawn Dealey. How are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Yay! So I just wanted to tell everybody that this show is going to be all about hunting and as well, and we have varying experience. So why don't we introduce ourselves? Kelly, why don't you go first?
Okay, so I'm Kelly Kincaid. This is my first year hunting, and I'm actually 40 years old, so it's not like I've waited a long time to get started, but I've definitely spent a lot of time in the woods making up for all the years I've missed. I have been fairly successful, so it's been a great experience.
You recently just got your first.
I recently got my first deer on the 27th of December.
Wow.
Sorry, the 29th of December. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And
yeah,
Dawn...
I also went goose hunting and got a few geese this year, so I'm pretty happy with how things have gone.
Excellent. Dawn, what about you? Can you introduce yourself as well and tell us all about your experiences?
Yeah, I'm 59. I started shooting not that many years ago. I've been hunting about 4 years, but I hunt pretty hard and I hunt often. I shoot IPSC competitively as well. I guess my thing was I've spent many years in the woods, doing wildcrafting and harvesting wild plants and so on and so forth. And, after skinning and tanning hides and processing animals for other people for a while, I just thought, and I breed hunting dogs as well. So after about 25, 30 years of that, I thought, it's time to sort of suck it up and get off the porch sort of thing. So I'd always wanted to hunt. It was just always finding time to go through the tests and stuff that we do out here in BC. So last year I took 4 animals, 2 deer, caribou, and and a moose. And I've got several hunts lined up for this year. So actually I'm just leaving in 6 weeks to go on my first one. So yeah, I've hunted throughout Canada and a couple hunts down in the States. So making up for lost time too.
Yeah, you're probably the most experienced of us though, right? Based on what we've been talking about.
I from the sounds of it, yeah, no offense, ladies. It's going to sound terrible, but yeah, I think so. Yeah, I've hunted in Quebec, Nunavut. I've hunted in Maine in the U.S. Hopefully I'll be going out to Labrador this year. I'll be going to Saskatchewan this year and back up to Nunavut again, Rankin Inlet and Cambridge Bay. So yeah.
Yep.
Every chance
I'm totally jealous over here.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about it at the very end. One of the questions I want to have for you is what is your... Maybe you can think about that and we'll...
I already have an answer for that one.
Okay. And we have Stacy. So Stacy, why don't you introduce yourself as well?
Does anybody really not know who I am by this point?
I don't know.
All right. I'm Stacy. I am part of the Appleseed Project. I'm from Michigan. I don't hunt. I keep getting asked to go on the Bunny Bash for our local club, and I will not do it. I can't even imagine throwing rounds downrange at a bunny. So, no.
Okay. I've never heard of that before.
We do it every year.
Okay. Now, you said that you don't hunt, but you have gone out.
I went out with my grandfather when I was younger.
So you are familiar with it.
Yeah, I just really am not quiet enough to sit there for hours.
I have the same problem.
And you see, none of my hunting is done sit. Well, some of it is, but we don't do the stand thing. It's a lot of our stuff is spot and stock. So we're always moving.
Okay.
I think it's more the quiet part I have a problem with.
Oh, the quiet part.
Yeah, I would agree. All right. So, everybody's talked about the types of hunting they've done as success. So, Dawn and have had success. But why don't we talk a little bit about the background in hunting? Like, we used to see all of the family go out, their tags, like the dads, the mom, that as well. And it fell off a little bit. Do you guys see it picking up again? Are more women getting into hunting? The kids are kind of as well. Are you seeing this or still not happening?
Can I go first?
Sure.
Sure.
So I grew up in a rural not far from where I live right now, southeastern Ontario. And when I was in high school, for the 2 weeks of rifle season for deer hunting, there was pretty much no classes. Everybody, if you weren't hunting, you didn't bother going to school because nobody was there anyway. And literally, it was whole families going to hunting camps together, and like it was a family affair. It was a means of putting meat in the freezer. People depended on it. And then, I don't know, I just stopped seeing it happening. And just recently, I started getting back into partially because my dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and he needed someone to help him. And what I thought would be, again, was really not, I don't know, a priority anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There used to be, I don't know, like all of my uncles and all of my cousins used to go hunting, and this year it was probably a fraction, like maybe 15%. And honestly, there was also on like the opposite side of that, more girls than guys.
Guys,
Which,
why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think it's because we just wanted to take more of a leadership role, and the guys were falling down on their knees, and we just decided that we could do a better job. I don't know. Like it was kind of like a girl power moment for us, and I've been noticing. I shoot IPSC as well, and I've been noticing there's a lot more popularity in the shooting sports as well, like in probably the last 5 to 7 years with females. So I don't know that it's going back to the family, but the females are definitely, there's more.
Okay. What are you seeing, Dawn, with you?
Well, I come from an urban area, and I've, I do have a couple of women acquaintances who hunt that don't live anywhere near Vancouver. But the gun clubs that I belong to, there are very, very few women that shoot, period, and even fewer that actually hunt. And I honestly can't say that I would regard that as representative of the province as a whole. Although when I do go hunting, I don't see. I have a very, very, very good friend who's an outfitter, and when I go hunting with him or his buddies or the fellows that work for him, there's never women. Okay. It's the same thing with the IPSC teams that belong to me. It's getting off the topic, but I'm the only woman. And on one IPSC team that I belong to, there just isn't. The girls come out, they get their licenses. It's a great thing. It's everything else, and then the interest kind of just falls off the table. And I don't know why that is. I mean, hunting in BC can be very, very hard depending on where you go. Is it because it's physically demanding? I don't know. Is it because it's intimidating to be out in the woods with men or by yourself or whatever? I don't know. But there just aren't. I mean, let me put it to you this way. If I sat around waiting for women to go hunting with, I'd be 100 years old. I'd like to see more, but I don't see them. I mean, maybe they're out there, but I just haven't run into them.
What do you think that we could promote? How can we get more?
Well,
wow, that's tough.
I think to bring young women hunting with other women is a good beginning. Like I hunt with Rachel, who is an 18-year-old daughter of one of the men in my hunting camp, and he and I pretty much hang out at the hunting camp together. But like we're support for each other, and it's not awkward because there's more of us, and we make it cool. And then she brings a teenage friend, and next thing you know, like it's becoming more mainstream. Like I think if you bring it and you make it fun and you talk about it, then it becomes something that's out in the open and acceptable.
I think I do see, when I step back to think about this, it's like there are women, I know of more women who are, who go out with shotguns, who are after birds. And that seems to be more appealing. It's not an activity that I do. So again, I'm a little disconnected from that. But if I am going to see, I have friends of friends who run duck tolling retrievers or Labradors or curly coats or something, and they'll go out hunting, pheasants and geese and whatnot. But by the same token, they're not big game hunters either. So, these women are very accomplished, and I certainly wouldn't want to have to compete against them with a shotgun, because I'm, you just don't want to go down that visual. And they've been doing it for a very long time. Either their husbands did it, or they came out of families that did do it, and they still do it for fun and basically being in the outdoors and whatnot. So there is that faction as well. But it's, again, as I said, it's not something that I run into.
What do you think about, so when you said faction of do duck hunting, do you think that it's because it's mammal doe-eyes, or?
No, not
No?
at all. Not at all.
No?
Not at all. Not at all. If they're out there shooting birds, they'll shoot something furry,
Right.
But it's difficult. I mean, it takes time. It takes money to have the equipment to go out and get an animal. You're going to have to take somebody out there, or go out there by yourself and skin it and drag it back and cart it in. And yes, people do that on the island here. We have our own island blacktail and whatnot. But if you want to go up, I did a goat hunt in northern BC 2 years ago. I mean, way, way north. And there is no way I could have accessed the area, shot that goat, dressed it, packed it out, got out of there myself. I mean, it 2 days to get in on horses. And, I'm going to go in there all by my lonesome? No, it's just not going to happen. So I don't think it's because women don't want to do it. It just becomes a question of resources.
Yeah, and having a place to go, because you're not really going to do what Dawn's doing for your first hunt.
Right.
You aren't going to walk in there and having never used your rifle and having never, hunted something smaller, and because that would be very intimidating, not knowing how you're going to perform as a shooter. If you could get a big ass moose in front of you and not be able to hit it, you don't know. So you have to have someone to go with locally, where that doesn't cost a whole lot of money right off the bat. Maybe you have to borrow someone else's rifle and go on someone else's land. And if you have no idea how to hunt or track it, you really need some guidance to get started.
Yep.
So
that's where the family unit used to come in. It
Right.
used to be something that was taught, but now if you want to get into it, you have to have someone who's doing it now.
Okay, so Kelly, how do you find that person?
Well, for me, I found those people through my local gun club, because I was already shooting IPSC, and so I knew people who were already shooting, so naturally some of them would be hunters. My dad, like I said, was a hunter, and so he had, a gun for me to use, and the desire to go, and in order for me the commitment to go with him, I kind of wanted to go out with someone else first, because he's not as mobile as he used to be.
You can generally find people but Dawn, you have a whole network, right?
I have a whole network, and I was lucky because my best friend, I'd worked together with for a long time and still do, with dog showing and training and whatnot. And he is a hunter and came up through a hunting family. His father hunted and so on. And so Doug was the one that basically put a rifle in my hands, first of all, and said, here, shoot it, and let's see what you do with it, if you can manage to hit anything. And then arranged for me to go on a hunt in the Arctic with him and his father. So, it was kind of like jumping off the 10-meter tower rather than kind of taking a dive off the side of the pool, because it was a completely unknown quantity for me. All of a sudden, I'm going from not ever hunting to bang, you're going up into the middle of the far Arctic in the winter time. But having said that, there are a lot of people there were some people in the gun club I belong to here on the island that heard of my interest, and I sort of met them at gun shows and stuff, and they were very, very helpful. One of them actually was the first fellow to get me involved in IPSC shooting as well. So the effort was out there. I mean, but by the same token, you look at some message boards and stuff, and you get a woman who will say, "Hi, I'm new to this. What can I do? Can somebody help me?" And if they have the time to filter through all the
Garbage.
crap, all the garbage, and all the, I can't believe some of the things people say to women when they're starting. It just, there'll usually be one or two little nuggets in there where somebody can say, yeah, why don't you try this? Or if you're in this area, why don't you contact this person? Or why don't, but the women have to have, and I'll beat on women a little bit here. They've got to have the chutzpah to get out there and do it.
Right.
I mean, this is not something where, I need my hand held and because I won't do that. It's like you've got to have a little bit of intestinal fortitude. This isn't easy. It's fun. It's huge. It's great. It's wonderful. You're out in the woods and stuff, but it's not a walk in the park. And there is a learning curve, and there is an acceptance curve, and there is the very first time you pull a trigger on something, you have to be prepared. I mean, it didn't bother me any, but I've seen it with other women where they're like, oh my God, what have I just done? Well, you've got yourself some real nice back straps there, sweetheart. Reach around, pat yourself on the back. You didn't do anything bad. And some women hit that wall and they kind of go, oh my God, I don't really know if that's what I wanted to do. Well, at that point, it's a little late. But now you've done it. It's awesome.
And that's when the work starts.
Yeah, and exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's when the work starts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're talking about a little bit about anyways, but why don't you talk about a suggestion that you have for new lady get to it, guns, or what you need to do, or what you should be aware of, things that may not are not aware of until they actually start.
Go for it,
Who
Dawn.
wants to go first? Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I would say realistically, the most important thing is ask yourself realistically what you want to hunt. Okay, if you want to hunt, if you want to start off hunting something like elk or moose, okay, that's what you want to focus on as far as your firearm goes. I don't necessarily recommend you do it that way, but if that's where your heart's set, then more power to you. And then select your gear from there. Okay, be realistic in your expectations of what you can shoot and what you're going to hunt. If you are going out for, we'll use an island blacktail as an example. They're not big deer. So a 338 Lapua or a 300 Win Mag is going to be a little much. But just because your neighbor or somebody says, well, yeah, I can shoot that, or my kid can shoot that, or whatever, don't get conned into the idea that bigger is better. You want what's going to get the job done. My favorite rifle is my 270 Win Mag. Or not, sorry, it's not a Win Mag. Sorry, I just bought my first Magnum caliber the other day, a 7 mil Rem Mag. But my 270, I've killed a lot of stuff, or shot a lot of stuff with my 270. Right. It's a light gun. It's a light round. But it can get the job done because I've shot a lot with it and I've hunted a lot with it, and I feel very confident with it. So go with something you feel you can handle, not what somebody else says you have to have. This is where it's important that you get out, you get to the range, you talk to people, see if you can try other stuff, see if you can try people's guns, and see what fits you, see what you like. And there's no such thing as a woman's gun. Oh, yeah, there's a lady model, such and such. No,
I was gonna ask that.
Wrong.
Does it need to be special sizing for ladies?
No, because like I said, I'm really small, right? I'm 5'1". I weigh 135 pounds, and I shoot a regular rifle. Nothing cut down, nothing added, nothing taken away, just right off the shelf.
I have to agree with Dawn. My dad gave me this Browning Bar 30-06, and I honestly, it's a very classic gun. It's really actually a pretty light gun, but it's old school wood, and I went down to the range feeling pretty mighty with it, and I set it in a t-shirt, and I promptly traded it in for a Model 11 Savage G43. And I think my dad is pretty hesitant to give me any other of his guns because he's pretty sure I'm going to trade them all. Yeah. But that rifle fits me, and I love it, and I will use it for a moose, deer, pretty much anything that I want to hit from far away. That is my go-to gun.
And there is a perfect example, if I can interrupt, because 243 is a small round. And if somebody is comfortable and competent enough to knock out a moose with a 243, more power to them. It just goes to show you don't need a cannon, like high five to you.
Thank you.
Oh, no way. Absolutely. Like, wow. That's impressive. I mean, that is really impressive. That's some good shooting.
Well, I haven't shot it yet, but I'm working. I haven't got my first moose yet.
But if you can with that, rock and roll.
Yeah.
Is there
all
any
about
other
placement.
Is there any other tips that you have for new shooters?
Something else that I recommend, if you are planning on going on your first hunt, replicate the conditions as much as you can when you're practicing. If you are going to be going out in northern BC in November, don't assume that being able to shoot your rifle in a tank top and shorts is going to give you an idea of what you're doing. Mm-hmm. When I went on my first Arctic hunt, I went up to the range every day dressed in full Arctic gear in August. So that was 30 some odd pounds of down coats, mm-hmm. fur hats, fur gloves, Arctic boots, and I'd lie on the ground with my rifle set up on a bipod and practice shooting prone in the dirt. And everybody thought I was out of my mind, except for the people who are helping me shoot. They said, this is what you're going to have to do. When you get up there and it's minus 35 or minus 40, you're not going to be saying, oh my goodness, I got to take all these clothes off. You're going to have to learn how to shoot with all that stuff on, and you better be comfortable in that sort of situation. And they were right, So that's something that I think is really important. Get gear that fits and
and don't
get the gun
cheap out on your clothes.
Exactly.
If you're going to be out there in the freezing cold, do not cheap out on your outdoor
mm-hmm.
gear, because it is no fun when you're cold and wet.
Yep.
And bring extra.
Bring extras.
Yeah.
And a little pet peeve of mine, no matter what they tell you, do not bathe yourself in doe urine or all that kind of stuff.
Gross.
It's like ladies, you don't need it.
Let the guys do it if they want.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a whitetail thing, and whitetail hunting seems to be a kind of a community all its own. But oh my goodness, you don't have to do that, ladies. It's
And be prepared to put the time in. It's not gonna, if you put your time in, you will be successful, but you have to be
mm-hmm.
prepared to sit there for hours, be in the woods for hours, and be alone for hours.
Yeah.
You can't just go out in the morning, come back for lunch, maybe go out for an hour in the afternoon and expect to get anything. And if you do, you're really lucky, but you have to put the time in.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing, practice. Just somebody shut me up.
No,
go
ahead.
I have more to add, so go ahead.
Well, okay.
Practice, and I think this is practice shooting off things. Okay, practice shooting off trees. Practice shooting off rocks. Practice shooting off. Practice kneeling. Practice prone. Practice shouldering that gun in a hurry. Mm-hmm. And that might not be because you want to take a running shot at something. You just don't know what might be behind you when you turn around. Okay? So practice, because I can guarantee you're not going to have that nice little bench rest out of the woods, and you're not going to, no.
Come on.
And you're not going to have that tool all set up, and you're not going to have time to kind of sit and muck around and kind of, well, you might, but chances are you're going to have to be shooting off a rock, or you're going to have your rifle propped up in the fork of a tree, or you're going to have to be nestled down in a bunch of wet, mossy crap with your bipod or not, and practice that, because that will be, that can make the difference between whether you get that shot, a good shot, or not. Yeah, and find a position that's for you,
And I have to add to that, make sure you mark your distances, or make sure you know what your distance is. I missed a deer with my crossbow this year because it was probably twice as far from me as I needed it to be, and I just, in the heat of the moment, thought it was close enough. and I ended up getting my deer with a crossbow this year, but it
Oh,
wasn't the
you're
first
good.
deer I just wasn't the first deer I took a shot at. It was like only after
You're
I'd
good.
missed because I hadn't marked it.
Know your distance.
Well,
and
no,
estimate.
that's a super good point. And just to sort of again elaborate on that a little bit, if you're a rifle shooter, once you select the rifle that you like or that you want, go out and buy a box of every manufacturer's ammunition in that caliber that you can find, because rifles like certain things.
They do.
And you can, without naming different manufacturers, I went through 7 or 8 different manufacturers for my first rifle. And some of them shot beautifully, and some of them shot, it was crap. I had to go out and sell the rest of the ammo. It was horrible. So don't just pick the first thing off the box, or because somebody says, yeah, you know, my Browning Export likes this. Well, my Tika didn't. But the time to find out is not when you're aiming at your deer or your moose or your elk or whatever. The time to know is beforehand. It's a little pricey, you know. His ammunition now is running, I mean, I just spent $70 a box on, you know, on Saco 7mm Rem Mag ammo, but I know that stuff will shoot amazing. Right. So it's worth every penny. But find out, play around and find out what works, because they're all going to be different.
Yeah, that's true.
Do either of you load for your own?
I reload 9mm for IPSC.
Right.
I've just started reloading 243. And like Dawn says, I'm definitely seeing some, you know, deviations, and it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
So, but I have time.
I don't. I same thing. I reload for IPSC, but I have found that the hunting rounds I'm using after a little bit of trial and error work so well in my guns. I mean, I'm lucky because Saco and Tika, they make their own ammunition, and if I'm lucky enough to be able to find a place that has, and they have somewhat odd bullet weights, but they work like, if I can say it, a hot damn. So I'm kind of of the impression that if it isn't broken, I'm not going to look for a way to fix it.
Right.
You know, and they do, you know, Saco routinely runs their ammo through Saco rifles every day, you know, so, and they've got ballistics chart apps you can upload and charts you can carry and all kinds of cool stuff. So for me, it's perfect.
Honestly, too, and I seem to be heading back that way. I have found some that I do like, and it's kind of easier than, for the number of rounds I shoot through the rifle is considerably less than the handgun. It, you know, really, I'm kind of heading back to just buying manufacturing.
Yeah. Dawn, we were talking about it before we actually started recording. We were talking about suggestions for new hunters, and you were talking about making sure you know shooting at and being confident in your shot. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I do, please. As we were talking about, as we were talking about before, I have a friend in Poland who's a dog breeder who was hunting with her dogs. They were hunting wild boar, and her dog was shot and killed by another hunter. The dog was wearing blaze orange, and this hunter shot him from a distance of 30 meters. So that's like, 100 feet.
Yeah.
And, you know, the dog in question is about 50 pounds and black and white. And, of course, we all know what a boar looks like. So how they could get these mixed up, I really have no idea. But it's absolutely imperative that you know exactly what you're shooting and where that bullet's going to go. Here in BC, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's across the country, but you can, in so many species, yes, it's okay to shoot the male, but you're going to end up locked up for the rest of your life if you shoot a female. So for God's sake, don't make that mistake. You know, I say know your limit, shoot within it. You know, and if you don't think you can make that shot, if you're not sure about your range, about whether or not the trajectory is going to fall out, if you just don't know, it is so much better to take a step back and say, you know something? Not my day today. Rather than leave an animal out to die in the woods that you can't track, I've had this discussion on many forums or been part of discussions where people argue with deer and moose and whatnot, not so much moose, but, headshots versus body shots. And there's always that, and I'll say it, I'll come right out and say it, there's always that macho element. They'll say, oh, yeah, I only take a headshot. That's all I'll do. And if you spend enough time in the woods long enough, you'll see where that can go horribly, awfully, tragically wrong. And it's just, so for me, I feel very confident. I think I'm a good hunter and I'm good with a rifle. That's a shot I'm never going to take, ever, because there's just too much room for error. It's got nothing to do with whether I practice or don't know the weather or whatever. It's a question of I want to make absolutely sure that those animals drop where I shot them, and that I'm not going to spend the rest of the day running around looking for a blood trail or worried about whether I find a pile of guts in one corner and the deer someplace else. And I've seen that happen. And we'll get, oh, yeah, I took a front shot, and what did I do? I didn't kill it. I zippered the deer instead. Oh, yeah, you just don't want to go that way. You don't want to hear that. And it was actually a woman hunter that I had to kind of talk off a ledge about that. She got a little bit of buck fever going on, and she thought she had the right shot going, and she didn't. And so you just have to be, it's not about being a good shot, it's about being a careful shot,
Right.
and having, and being an ethical hunter. That to me is huge.
Able to put down as fast and
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes they'll move a little bit, they don't always just keel over where they're standing. But interestingly, I took a Quebec caribou in October, and the guide I was with filmed the whole thing. And I remember taking this shot and watching this animal go down and thinking, oh my God, this is forever, like forever. And I didn't realize he was filming this on his phone. And you can hear me saying, oh my God, I got to shoot him again. He goes, nope, you're okay. From the minute, he showed it me afterwards, from the minute that animal walked out with another gang of bulls, that he walked out of these copse of trees, that I lined up as he was walking and I shot him and he went down dead, was about 1 minute and 15 seconds.
Wow.
And that was, yeah. But to me, it seemed like 15 minutes. I thought, my God, he's never going to die, and what have I done? And nope. And I mean, that wasn't from the first shot. That was, it only took one round. That minute 15 was from when we first saw them. So, time stands still. Time will, you think, oh my God, it's taking forever. What have I done wrong?
And the half hour to wait feels like forever as well. It's a lifetime.
Yeah.
Like a lifetime, especially like for me, it was my first year. It was a lifetime. But I think that's the important part, because that's the part where hunting is demonized, right? And the animal suffering.
Yes. Yeah. And they, this is maybe a bit graphic, but we do have a saying in hunting that they just don't know they're dead. Mm-hmm. You can shoot something like moose I shot last fall. I shot him once. He took 2 steps. I shot him again. He dropped like a bag of rocks. And when we got up to him and field dressed him, the round had gone through and basically turned his lungs into lace. I mean, he would not have gone very far, but there is this kind of, that whole flight or fight thing takes over, and they don't feel it. They go down, they're dead. But it just doesn't happen in a nanosecond. Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely right. That's something where people say, oh my God, they're suffering, or this, that. Well, not in a case like that, they're not. But that is a hard thing to try and explain to people who don't see it and don't know and can't imagine,
But I think they don't understand that happens when animals are slaughtered for the grocery store too. Like they don't go down right away either. They just don't.
Yep. That's right. Absolutely.
So Kelly, you were a brand new hunter, not brand new, well, pretty much
brand new
hunter this year. So do you have any extra tips for ladies starting out well that Dawn, you haven't covered?
Well, yeah, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, just be very, very conscientious of the fact that you're new and that you do have a lot of learning to do, and listen to what other people tell you, but always look at where it's coming from. And if you get the chance to go with someone else, even to be an observer, go
Right.
just to see what you're getting into, because if you don't know what you're getting into, it can be very overwhelming. And making a shot at the range versus making a shot with an animal are completely different. Like
Yep.
you have that whole buck fever or like excitement that happens that makes you like unsteady, and you have to learn and train yourself to be steady.
And
So I guess go if you have the chance, every chance you get. And my first goose hunt this year was with a friend of mine, Rob, who is very experienced, and he was great. He called the geese in for me. He helped me set them up. He talked me through how the decoys need to be set up, like where they would be coming from, how the geese have to land in the wind, and like that is experience that I couldn't Google. I mean, I could, but I would spend hours sitting and never really understand.
Right.
So
that's
just
so true.
if you get the chance, go with somebody who's done it. Every single time they ask, go.
And don't be afraid.
I mean, you're always going to be nervous. I mean, and it's okay to ask questions, but yeah, fake it till you make it too.
That's good. I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, the confidence comes with time.
That's
but
true.
Until you get it,
Yeah.
Put on a good show.
Put on a good show. Right. But ask questions.
But ask questions, and
right.
Learn as much, because that experience. A lot of people don't talk about hunting because it's not something everybody talks about. It's something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. So a lot of times they won't offer unless you ask.
Yeah. Right. You're right, actually.
And women are, I think, don't give themselves the credit they deserve when it comes to the actual shooting, because women, because I found that because they don't feel they have anything to prove, and that issue about, oh my God, I'm a woman, I can't do this, and they're going to think I'm terrible, and I'm just a girl. That sometimes translates really well in the field because they have nothing to prove to anybody. I mean, some women go and say, oh yeah, everybody's going to hate me if I don't do this or I don't do that, or they're going to think I'm stupid, or they're going to think I'm a rotten shot. But what I see is that women are far more careful when it comes to their breathing, and when it comes to positioning the rifle properly, and then it comes to, not jerking their triggers and stuff. So that adage about women better shooters right out of the box is it's true, right? Because they don't have, well, I have to perform a certain way. I mean, yeah, some women do, and oh my God, I have these expectations I have to live up to. But if you can get past that and just do it for yourself, they're far better at getting over that initial jump. I don't think I've ever seen a woman with buck fever. They might be intimidated about what they're doing, but they're not getting that jumpy hyper, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. They just don't do that.
There's not that, you said earlier, macho or testosterone.
No.
No. Right.
Women are very coachable. I've noticed they just tend to focus on, what's the first thing I do? What's the second thing I do? They don't get, like you said, they don't get the whole, I am just going to do what I want to do.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point, that they are more coachable, and they are more, I think that they understand far better that the only stupid question is the one you don't ask, once they sort of get over that. But don't be afraid, ladies. Don't be afraid to ask that question. Everybody started somewhere. And the real hunters are going to look at you and say, wow, she's really in tune with what she's doing. She's really keen to get this right. And you have to respect that. And every guy I've gone hunting with or gone out camping with and stuff, they've all been like, wow, I get to go hunting with a girl. Awesome. And some of these guys are half my age, and they're like, oh man, that's so cool. That's awesome. I wish my wife would do this and stuff. And they just think that's cool. They think that's really cool. So,
well, speaking of guys wanting their wives to do it, what would you guys suggest for those guys that want to try and get their into what tips can we give them, or daughters even?
Having other women there definitely helps.
Yeah.
I don't take direction from my spouse very well, So
Most people don't, Kelly. It's
I would
okay.
suggest,
Oh my god. And that's
I
probably
would
why I'm still
suggest
single.
having someone else instruct them because
Uh-huh.
it might be better received.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
If
a good
it's not
point.
another female, then yeah,
Anybody
another.
else.
Yes, anybody else.
Like,
I think
preferably a good friend who knows what doing, but yes, anybody else. And not because my husband doesn't know what he's doing, but because we're equal partners in this relationship and it just doesn't match up
work.
well for
Yeah.
him to
Mhm.
be. And it's easier to take criticism or direction from someone else.
I think
Right.
that's a very good point. And I think sometimes men have to, if they have a wife, girlfriend, daughter, maybe not so much with daughters. I think guys, this is my little girl, and I've never had kids, so I could be way off that with this. But if you have a significant other who wants to take this up and who's keen, first of all, don't force them if they aren't.
Right.
But if they are, kind of encourage them along, get them to come out with you first, see what it's all about, see if they want to take it to the next step, get them helping with the skinning, with the prep, with, all of that, and get them to the range, do all the groundwork first, and then patience, I think, is the big thing. Don't be too quick to jump in and say, no, instead of saying you're doing that wrong, how about I'm going to suggest that you do it this way, or why don't you try and do it this way, and
Or
be
you
a
might
little,
be more successful this way. It'll feel better.
or you might be more successful if you do it that way, or
Right.
how come why did you choose to do it that way? What works for you? Why does that work for you? And I think that if you can manage to do that, then they're like, wow, I went up there and didn't get my head bitten off.
Yeah. And can I just add, let them get their own gun.
Yep.
Because don't expect them to use your gun. If they have ownership of their own gun, they'll use their own.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if they do, they've tried your gun and they're okay to actually.
Kelly.
I've acquired a few that way.
Are we up to more than a few that
you
way by now?
relinquish ownership, right? That's what happens, right?
Okay, I like this. I'm now at the point where I've been told, no, you're not allowed to have any more of my gun. No. Anyways.
That's fun.
Yeah. So recently you both went on winter hunting and that. Do you have tips? We keep talking about tips, but let's talk about winter hunting specifically. I know that Dawn, there's probably some things that you can talk about in regards to whether it be going out and hunting moose or elk or whatever, but specifically about winter hunting.
Well, Kelly, was it you that mentioned earlier about don't skimp on gear?
Yeah.
That was the other Kelly. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that is really, really important point. If I'm going out someplace where it's cold, like really cold, I wear a lot of wool, and I get good wool. And can I make a plug for a manufacturer or no?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you're going someplace where it's extreme hunting, I'm not so sure you'd have these kind of conditions in Northern Ontario you would. I wear Kuiu gear, which is they're a spin-off from Sitka, and you see people out here that are doing extreme mountain hunting for goats and sheep and whatnot. A lot of guys wear Kuiu gear. It's not made for women. It's not made for little tiny people. The smallest size they make is a men's medium, but it's great layering gear. It's a universal patented, I think their camel pattern is patented, that blends everywhere. I mean everywhere. And it is outstanding stuff. But you can only buy it online, and it's pricey. But would I recommend it to somebody? You bet.
I'm going to have to look that up.
So it's Kuiu, right?
Kuiu. Yeah.
Right.
Kuiu.
Right now there's free shipping.
Their service is terrific. They're I've never had to wait more than 2 or 3 days before the stuff was getting a little notice from the post office.
Yeah.
They're terrific, and they're I mean, I watched enough hunters wearing this stuff, and I thought, okay, these guys are coming from all over the U.S. and everything, and they can't all be wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I borrowed a couple of insulated shirts from one guy to wear, and it's like, wow, this stuff works pretty good. Bought some pieces for myself, and was like, wow, this stuff is really, and that's, I wear a lot of that now. But some of the stuff is just never going to fit. I mean, like I said, I'm only 5'1", and I think the shortest pair of pants I have is about 5'6".
Mm-hmm.
But if you're that sort of average build, this stuff is amazing. But don't skimp on gear. There's lots of great gear companies out there that make extraordinary clothing for whatever kind of hunting you want to do. I mean, that just happens to be my preference. But I don't think you need to get totally bent out of shape over, well, this camel pattern for this woods or this whatever, unless you're in snow camo, and then you kind of stick out like a green thumb if you're wearing blaze orange,
Yeah.
But other than that, like when European hunters come over here, most of them are just wearing flat green and having, when you go hunting in Scandinavia and the Nordic countries, most of them will wear just plain old dark solid green. And it seems to work no matter where they go, So I think that sort of stuff you can get really hung up on. I got to have the neatest, coolest, trendiest.
Yeah, I struggle also with the fit. Are you there?
You're quite tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 5'4" and about 100 pounds, so I'm very small build.
Yeah.
And I find that if it doesn't fit, that it's too bulky and I'm getting caught on it. Like when I pull my rifle up, I'm getting caught on it, or I'm not quiet through because I'm just bigger than I am normally. So I found that there are now finally some things coming in smaller sizes for women. I did really well. I did really well with the She Outdoor through Bass Pro Shops. Yeah, so I got the E4, as thick as you can get. Basically, it's like snow pants and camouflage, but quiet. And I love it.
Yeah.
Where did you get that
at? The Bass Pro Shops.
Bass Pro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bass Pro.
That's a good line of stuff.
It is. At Cabela also has the Outfit Her. It's not up as nice for me. They have a lot of the 4-in-1 kind of coats things. I've never had any luck with that kind of stuff. But the She Outdoor is good. And also I just ordered some icebreaker merino wool. And that's finally in women's sizes. It's great. It's like on sale right now, I think at Cabela's or whatever. I mean, you can't go wrong with wool.
And icebreaker is, I wear a lot of icebreaker. I wear a lot of smart wool. Another company from down under. The Outfit Her stuff is I'm built a little differently. I'm very broad in the shoulders and kind of broad through the back. And so I find sometimes the traditional women's cut clothing is a little tight for me, and I don't have this little tiny waist, Another tip for smaller women is, and Cabela's usually, actually Bass Pro does too, check out the youth section, for young kids, because you'd be surprised, especially like in one-piece suits and stuff. Yeah, buy them right off the rack, and you don't have to cut the legs off or anything like that.
Right.
And that sometimes works really well too. What was, now I'm trying to think of a line of clothing that I bought a while ago that was really good that I can't get anymore, so I'll stop there before I, go and buy this. You won't be able to find it in any stores, but it worked for me. Browning made good clothing.
There's definitely more, and I think that goes to say with the women being a growing demographic, right? Like we're finally starting to see the gear coming.
And it's not all pink.
Yeah.
No.
Oh God.
Just think.
No.
Yeah.
Hey.
No.
No. There are some ladies who
nothing wrong with pink, but it's no.
The thought that we all like pink. Anyways, all right. So we've got gear covered. What about firearms? Any favorite firearms that are out there? For specifically like if you're hunting moose. I know Kelly, you bought yourself something, right?
Oh, you know what? When I turned 30, I cried. When I turned 40, I used an excuse to buy everything I ever wanted. So I bought myself a beautiful 20 under Frosty
She
shotgun,
did.
which I
It's
love. It's
beautiful.
the
Oh,
Conrad.
nice.
I love it. And it's I love it. I got my first and my second and my third with it, and I shot some trap, and yeah, I would definitely recommend it. Getting something that you love. Like I
Yeah.
don't have a lot of them, but the ones I have, I love,
Yeah.
And you're
and
going to use them.
I
Yes.
use them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have my IPSC gun. I have my shotgun. I have my rifle. I have my crossbow. Like I have one of everything for every purpose that I love.
I have to ask, what do you shoot for IPSC?
I have a Sig Sauer 1911 in 9 with stainless
It's
steel.
beautiful. I've shot
Ah,
it.
okay. So, all right. So you're shooting classic?
I'm shooting classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
Oh,
switched
cool.
over to classic.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
See a lot of
great.
you should come out here. You would be the only woman shooting classic.
Don, you should open,
Yeah.
do you not?
No, I don't. I shoot production.
Oh, do you?
Yep.
What
I'm
are
a
you
shadow.
shooting
I'm a
then?
shadow girl. Oh,
Oh,
I'm a
nice.
shadow girl. Yeah, I'm a shadow girl. Just got. I have a pair of shadow 2s, and just gonna start the season with those. And yeah.
That's exciting.
Cool.
Excellent.
Oh yeah. They're pretty cool. They're pretty awesome. So I have to say that I'm partial to Finnish rifles. Very
Okay.
partial to Finnish rifles. So I have my first rifle was a Tika 270, and I'm kind of an oddball because I'm left eye dominant. I shoot handguns with my right hand. I shoot rifles with my left hand, and so all my rifles have to be left-handed bolt. And the Finnish companies, Sako and Tika, they do have a pretty extensive selection of rifles in left-handed if that's what you are. But they're just wicked good firearms. You know, they're tremendous. And so I've been very, very happy with what I've got. I've got 5 Tikas now and 1 Sako, and I'd be hard pressed to pick. I think the 270 is my favorite, but the 30-06 gets the job done on everything, and so it's kind of a like, oh my God, which pair of shoes do I wear today? Which rifle do I want to hunt with? But they're all amazing. So yeah, they're all amazing.
Yeah. Don't you also collect?
I do. I collect Mosin Nagants.
And how many do you have?
I just bought a couple more. Actually, I also just bought, I forget, I can't believe I forgot this. I also just bought a still in the box Sako Forester from the 60s. She's never had a bolt in her yet. I mean, she's still the sling is still all wrapped up. She's still got the paper washers where the bolts, where the swivels are. It's absolutely the most beautiful. Oh my goodness. I'll probably never shoot it. It's an absolutely. Oh no. Oh, I think if you saw this, you'd agree with me. It's just absolutely a magnificent looking piece of work. She's stunning.
It's made to shot.
I know, but I'm gonna have her up on my book page pretty soon. I just picked her up the other day, so. But yeah, I do have a few extra Mosins. I just got another M44 carbine, and yeah, so.
Wow.
And I picked up a new, not new, but again, has only had a couple of rounds through it, a Springfield Garand, World War II military issue, and I'm still kind of, I can't believe I got it. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love mine.
Yeah. This just like, oh my God, I got lucky. I got so lucky. So.
So where are you finding all these great finds?
Networking.
I was just thinking, you're the kind of girl I like to shop with.
Hey, you just come on out with me and we'll go shopping, baby.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
as
I think I said in the earlier show, I'm really, really lucky that I have a super network of guys out here who, whether they just want to humor me because I'm their pet project or what, I don't know, but it's like it's been relatively easy for me to get my hands on some very good stuff because I've got a tremendous core group of very experienced male shooters across a variety of disciplines who are only too happy to say, okay, Dawn, let me see what I can do. I'm very, very lucky that way.
That is one thing that I've noticed pretty much whenever I go to a range or whenever I go out with men that I don't have experience with it, they're always happy to help.
They're very accommodating.
They would bend over backwards to help someone new, especially a woman, get into shooting.
And then you shoot a little upset. Sorry.
Well, that's the after, the before and the after, right?
That's too funny. That's too funny. But it's funny because I belong to two different gun clubs, and without naming them, because if anybody's listening, they might recognize who they are. But one of them I find has been, they can't, actually it's the IPSC team that I belong to on the mainland in Abbotsford, and there's nothing those guys won't do for me, literally.
Amazing, right? Yeah.
Whether it's, no matter what field it is, they might rib me and give me a really hard time about something, but at the end of the day, there isn't anything that they won't say, okay, well, we'll help you out with that. I've got some very, very committed people and great friends and supporters on the island as well. But as I think we discussed earlier, trying to get the women's core group going there has been sometimes a real head-banging experience. And some of the guys there think, yeah, this is wonderful, I'll do everything I can. And some of them are like, oh, God, I definitely get that, that sense that there's a handful that have been, well, yeah, you may be successful now, but just we're just not going to let you forget that we've been doing this much longer than you have. And fortunately, you don't have to run into that all that often because, the majority of the fellas are wonderful, but,
majority of them are.
The majority of them are absolutely great. Nothing for women to be intimidated about. The men are awesome. Awesome.
Okay, remember I gave you guys a question and Dawn says, I know right away.
Yeah, you better let her go because
You're still thinking about it?
What was the question again?
The question was, okay, what is your dream hunting adventure? Yeah. Okay, Dawn, go.
I want to go to well, first of all, I actually have two. One of them is any hunt where the weather is going to be awesome and the scenery is terrific and the game is good. So it doesn't really matter. It could be my own backyard. But my dream hunt is New Zealand for tar sheep.
Oh, okay.
That's my dream hunt.
Why is it your dream hunt?
First of all, I've never been to New Zealand. Secondly, because the tar are they're spectacular animals. They're beautiful. I mean, the scenery in New Zealand is crazy. That's all mountain hunting, which I love. And I've got some buddies down there that guide and got to know some contact, again, networking, down in New Zealand, and they're like, hurry up and get down here, let's go hunting, so that's my dream hunt. That is totally my dream hunt.
Okay, so this is where you can tell that the hunter from the newbie, because I'd like my sights are considerably lower in that I am pretty much would be like ecstatic to go elk hunting in northern Alberta.
Oh, yeah.
Because for one thing, I would love to have the meat. I think elk is fantastic, and I love Alberta. I haven't been out there in 15 years probably, and I think that would be awesome.
Okay, and this is again where networking would probably with that, especially if it might happen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And Dawn, yours might happen.
I'm planning on it. I'm definitely planning on it. It for me, hunting is about, the hunt is great, but I did a walrus hunt year before last, and you might think, oh my God, what are you gonna do? You're gonna go out in a nice flow and plug shoot a walrus. What for? But the most incredible part of that hunt was watching the prep of the animal after by the Inuit guides I was with, and how they prepared that animal, how they took that animal down, how they put the fat and the meat packets together to be taken back to the hamlets to be buried over the winter, how they stripped out the intestines to make ropes and stuff out of after. It was the whole traditional process. That was what I went up to see. And I took hundreds of photographs of this. You're standing on this ice floor, and it's 20, you're in the survival suit, and it's just like, But that was the cool. It wasn't about going up to get another species. It was to watch this incredible process that's been happening forever, hundreds of years, and just to watch these young guys, what they did, and just, oh my God, I might never, like 10 years ago, like never in a million years would I think that I would have the opportunity to watch the way this was conducted. And that was the key thing for me. It wasn't about adding another tag. It was watching this entire traditional process. That was crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy, actually. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was. It was just like, whoa, and what we were talking about a little bit earlier, if I can, add to that, is all those photos have been a very, very useful tool for me when it comes down to showing antis. Well, why would you want to hunt animal X? Well, let me show you the pictures of what happened. This is where all this went. This is what this was used for. This is where this is going to go. This is what these people will take home. And sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't, but it generally brings a whole different perspective, and people go, wow, I hadn't thought about it that way.
Especially Arctic, it will ensure nothing goes to waste.
Nothing goes to waste.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's pretty wonderful. So
I think, though, too, part of the reason hunting gets such a bad rap is the people that are against it don't really know what happened. Like you said, but also just like even here for me, when I got my first deer and we turned in the hide history, and they give that to the native people for them to make moccasins and sell back to us. Or I didn't know that happened before I started hunting. I never really thought about where the skins went.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
They don't really advertise, obviously, that part of the conservation to the non-hunters of the population,
No, they don't, and that is something that I get kidded about, gently, but kidded nonetheless, is that I won't. I've been on several outfitted guided hunts, out of province and stuff, and for me, if I can't be assured that I'm going to be able to take the meat and everything else I want out, then it's a no-go. Like my muskox, every piece of that animal that we could, my last muskox hunt, there's a hide on the floor, there's a skull on the tabletop, there's a couple of 100 pounds of meat that came out of that. My moose from my very first moose, again, there's a skull on the wall, there was a freezer full of meat, and I insisted that the hide be tanned. I got the hide back from the taxidermist, and I've got some beautiful pieces of, I've got this, like, one of my favorite items is gorgeous V-point kind of sling back knapsack purse that was made for me out of my moose, So, like, that whole animal ended up being put to use, the whole thing. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And people don't think about that. They think you're going to shoot it and then you're going to, cut the nose off or take some steaks away and just leave it, And, no, doesn't work that way. Does not work that way.
No, not if you're out.
No.
You're feeding your family. So.
Yep, exactly.
All right, well, ladies, unless Stacy, we haven't heard.
Nope.
You got anything to add?
Nope. Kelly and Don have covered it very, very well.
Well, I think that you guys are. It's great for somebody who's a non-hunter or somebody that's relatively. You both have some, and even information for guys that are. I think that anybody can listen to, and also listen to some great stories.
We never got into some of my stories. Some of the stories.
Oh, do you want to tell a story?
I have one story that I think is really, really important.
Okay, tell us the story.
And I don't mind debasing myself about this one because it was a horribly embarrassing. It was a terrible experience for me. But I learned enormously from it, and I pass it on every chance I get to new hunters. I had just come back from my walrus hunt, and I was flying out of Ottawa, coming back to Vancouver, and I was heading straight up north to go hunting within just a couple of days turnaround. And when I arrived in Vancouver, my rifle case had been broken open. And, well, it was right after the whole Cecil the Lion episode. And I arrived in Abbotsford, rifle hanging out of the case. WestJet was very dismissive. I got a guy who said, well, I also hunt. And I mean, it was a nasty exchange. And I, basically stormed out of the airport. Before I went on my next hunt, I didn't check the gun. Yeah. I didn't check the sights to see if they had been damaged in any way. I didn't check the actual firearm to see if it had been damaged in any way. And when I got up to where I was going for my goat, we were in a huge hurry to get off the float planes on the horses and go. And I didn't sight the rifle in. So I had heavier ammunition that I wasn't terribly familiar with. And I didn't feel really comfortable about all of this, but I thought, well, everything's going to be fine. Up until this point, I'd never had any problems. And I had, let's just say that of the rounds I shot the goat with, I missed him with most of them. I did kill him, but it wasn't a first hit, and I could not for the life of me figure out what the problem was. I was in hysterics on the side of this mountain at 7,500 feet because nothing is working. We found we had fragmented jackets in the ammunition. When we got back down to camp, a very, very experienced young guy said, Dawn, give me the rifle. I'm going to check it out for you and see if this is as off as it appears to be, because I really don't think this is your shooting. I think there's an equipment glitch here somewhere. And sure enough, this kid was a crack shot, couldn't put 1 round out of 10 on a 2x6 at 100 yards. So the rifle comes back into Victoria, take him to my local gunsmith who's always worked on my stuff, and 5 months later, they get the scope issue straightened out. They had Swarovski, bless Swarovski's heart, involved in the U.S. because the reticle on that, they were so far off, I may as well have been shooting at the moon. And all of that could have been avoided if I'd taken a day to get that rifle up and think, yeah, you know what, that thing got beat up. It was obviously thrown out of the case. It made it all. If I had taken the time to check to make sure, I would have ended up taking another rifle and nothing would have happened. But I didn't. So it was a very hard lesson for me to learn. But you can bet I am never going to make that mistake again.
No doubt.
Never going to make that mistake again. And WestJet, they're usually great with firearms and stuff. Never had a problem. Just one trip, somebody somewhere didn't like the fact that a gun case, I don't know. I'll never know the whole story. I'll never know what happened, But it did go terribly wrong. And now, I'd always been meticulous about checking my gear before. That was the one time I let my guard down. It's never going to happen again.
I'll remember
Good
that.
story. It's a good learning.
Yeah. So that was the biggie there. Always check your gear. Always, 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 always. Always check your gear. And never be afraid to, and never be afraid to question something if you think something isn't right. Never be afraid to. So.
Okay. Well, it's a good sharing it with
No,
us.
it's. I have one more quick one.
Okay.
This is actually very funny. This is actually really, really funny.
Right.
My first hunt, I'm up with my best friend, right? He forgets we're shooting caribou. It's snowing. I'm propped up against a rock. Remember what I said about taking a shot off a rock? And I'm setting my rifle up, and I see this caribou bull. This is going to be, whatever. But remember, this is in the Arctic. It's like flat. There's nothing but snow. There's a few rocks. And I go to take my hat off to look through my scope a little better, and I go to ruffle my hair, like get my hair out of my eyes. And all of a sudden, I hear my friend screaming at me, right? You're going to shoot the animal with the wrong hand. You got the rifle in the wrong hand. Turned around to him, and I said, you blankety blank, I'm left-handed. Well, yeah, because he's like watching me set up with this thing left hand. He says, you're going to shoot it with the wrong hand. Put it in the other hand. And then I stop and look. His guide stops and looks. The caribou stops and looks, right? we're all stopping and looking at him. I'm screaming back at him. I won't repeat what I said, but he gets, all of a sudden he gets very, very sheepish, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot."
Oh, sorry.
And he's just like, he just, well, you hadn't really before much, so I figured it. Didn't want to let you blow the shot because you got all excited and you forgot which hand where you were supposed to shoulder the gun. So yeah. Thank you very much for that. My best
And
friend.
did the moose run away? Did it run away?
No, he stood there. And I think maybe that was part of the thing, was just like, it's like when those two were finished fighting with each other, and the Inuk thought it was hilarious. Our two guides thought it was absolutely hysterical, because we were, you hunt in pairs up there for, reasons of safety and whatnot. They thought it was hysterical. And they thought this was absolutely hilarious. I wasn't quite so sure it was all that funny, but it was with the wrong hand. Like,
now, was this friend aware? Like, had he shot IPSC with you, so that shooting right-handed and IPSC and shooting?
No. This is the guy that. No, this is my best friend. This is the guy that actually first put a rifle in my hand. This is the guy that watched me shoot left-handed at the range. I wasn't shooting IPSC at that time. I hadn't started shooting IPSC at that point. And he knew perfectly well that I shot left-handed rifles. And all of a sudden, it's like, what are you doing? You said, look what side the bolt's on, you idiot.
It's only funny because you still got the animal. If the animal had run away, you'd still be mad.
Oh, I would never have let him forget that if that had happened. He would never have lived that down. But
I'm sure you never let him forget it now.
He never lets me forget it. He says you have to take your hat off to adjust your hair and fix your makeup. I still don't hear the end of it. So it works both ways. Every time I rag him about that one, I guess, well, yeah, but if you hadn't stopped to have this little primping spa session. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I'm going to be hearing about that for a long time, I think. So there you go.
All right. Well, on that funny story, let's end the show. I wanted to thank you, Kelly, and Stacy, and Dawn.
Thanks for having me
tonight.
Yeah, thanks for listening to me prattle on.
Oh, it was awesome. I really appreciate that.
Had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been a long time in trying to get this all together, and we work schedule. Getting it set up took a while, but I really had fun. So I wanted to thank you.
So did I. Thank you so much.
Me too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
okay.
I'm hoping that we can have this out in the next little while. Okay, so I'll let you guys know. And any parting words of wisdom for everybody?
Get out there and do it, ladies. You don't know what you're missing.
Just try it.
Yeah.
And Stacy?
I'm just wondering if they're talking. I'm just wondering if they're talking to you and I.
I think so.
For sure. For sure.
All right. Well,
excellent.
Thank you. And good night.
All righty.
Good night.
Thanks, guys. Okay. Good night.
So if you have any comments or questions for the show, please send an email to slamfireradio@gmail.com. Now go grab a gun and shoot something.
When the talking is over, it's time to get a gun.